Today we're going to go through the steps of making the perfect French press coffee. You'll need freshly roasted whole coffee beans, clean purified water, a French press, an electric burr grinder, a food scale, and a smart gooseneck kettle. The most flavorful coffee starts with freshly roasted beans. If you can, find a local roaster or go online and find a supplier who can deliver freshly roasted beans. A lot of people are familiar with dark roast coffee, and that's what they think coffee is supposed to taste like. But I'd actually recommend going with a medium or even light roast coffee. You're gonna get a lot more flavor from the actual coffee bean with a light or medium roast coffee. Whereas dark roast, so much of the coffee is roasted away and all you're really left with is carbon, which gives you that burnt, almost charcoal-like taste to your coffee. The next step is measuring the amount of beans we're using to make our cup of coffee. A good starting ratio is 1:15, and that just means for every gram of coffee beans we're using, we're gonna be using 15 grams of water. That's about 3 tablespoons of coffee beans to every 8 ounces of water. The most important thing is being consistent. So we're gonna use a food scale to ensure our measurements are accurate. Zero out the food scale and measure the coffee beans before grinding. For this French press, I'm using 32 grams of coffee. To grind your coffee beans, you have a lot of different options, and they come in all shapes, sizes, and price points. I'd recommend an electric burr grinder. These are a little bit more expensive, but trust me, it's totally worth it. If you start with a hand grinder or a blade grinder, you're soon gonna be tempted to upgrade to a full electric burr grinder. These let you dial in the perfect grind size so that your coffee grounds match the type of coffee you're making. For the French press we're making today, we're gonna want a grind size that's a little bit larger, coarser, more like sand or soil. Before we add our coffee grounds to the French press, we want to prime the French press with hot water. Just pour a little hot water in there to warm up the glass. This ensures consistency and temperature throughout the brewing process. Once you pour out the hot water, now you can add your coffee grounds. Don't overlook the water. The better the water, the better the coffee. Don't ruin what could be a great cup of coffee by using water that's unfiltered or unpurified. Water that's too hot or too cold is going to affect the extraction of the coffee in the brewing process, and that's going to impact the flavor, giving you less optimal results. Never use boiling water. Boiling water is going to scorch the coffee grounds and make them taste worse. The optimal temperature for your hot water is going to be between 195 and 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Boiling water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you got boiled water, you're going to want to wait about 30 seconds before you add it to your coffee. Zero out the food scale, and then with your gooseneck kettle, pour the hot water over the coffee grounds until we reach 480 grams. Remember, we use 32 grams of coffee, so for a 1:15 ratio, we're looking for that 480 grams of water. It takes 4 minutes to brew the perfect cup of coffee in a French press, so the moment you add your hot water, start a timer. As you're brewing your coffee, you'll notice a crust of coffee grounds forming on top of the water. At the 2-minute mark, you want to break this crust to make sure all the coffee grounds are incorporated into the hot water. Once your timer hits 4 minutes, the coffee is finished brewing. Press down on the plunger and pour out the liquid. The French press method will result in some very small particles remaining in the coffee. This will form a residue at the bottom of the cup and creates a texture to the coffee that's a little silkier. If you prefer a cleaner brew, you can pour the coffee through a coffee filter to extract all those particles where you're only left with the liquid. This will result in a really clean cup of coffee. And that's it. The only thing left to do is enjoy the perfect cup of coffee made with a French press.